The views and opinions expressed on our podcast by us or by any guest are those of our own and of our guests. They do not reflect the views, opinions, or approval of any Grand Lodge of Freemasonry or any lodge of any jurisdiction. Coming up, we're going to be talking about some Masonic charities. We're also going to be talking about the next step I took in my Masonic journey. What was it? Well, you'll find out next on the Masonic Ring podcast, which starts right now.
It's the way that I can tell the world the kind of man I am, that I put my trust in God above, and for brotherhood I stand. It reminds me to be honest and to remember whence I came. I'm a man that you can count on. That's why I wear this ring.
Welcome to another episode of the Masonic Ring podcast. I am your host, Brother Nathan Davis. I want to welcome everyone. Thank you for listening. And today we're going to be talking about Masonic charities. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to get to them all, but we're going to be talking about some of the Masonic charities that I know about, and trust me, there are plenty more out there. We're also going to be talking about the next step I took in my Masonic Travels, something that I'm very excited about, and so I hope you'll stick around for that. Before we dive in, though, I want to invite everyone to like us on Facebook. You can interact with us there, also see updates to the podcast when new episodes drop. So search us up on Facebook at the Masonic Ring. You can also search us up on Twitter, same handle, the Masonic Ring. If you don't have Facebook or any kind of social media, you can also email us. Just email us, themasonicring@gmail.com, themasonicring@gmail.com. Send us questions, comments, anything like that, because I want to interact with you. I want to answer questions if you have any. I want to read your comments. I'd love to have a Q&A on a Q&A from the Masonic Ring podcast listeners. So if you have questions, send them to me and I'll compile them together. If I don't know the answers, I'll try to find them and I'll put them all on an episode. And I think that will be pretty fun. So yeah, send us an email and or shoot us an instant message on Facebook. Let's interact with each other and have a good time. And the thing about this podcast is I want to make it entertaining. I also want to make it informative, but I want to make it entertaining. If you're going to take time out of your day or your schedule to listen to this, I want to make sure you're entertained. And as time goes on, I'll get better and better at it. So, let's make this fun and interactive. So before we get into the Masonic charities, let's talk about the next step I took in my Masonic travels. Something that I didn't think I would do, but I am so glad I did it. And I have officially become a member of the Scottish Rite. And, for those of you who are already members, you know what I'm talking about. This was, to me, one of the greatest things that I've ever witnessed. Now, I do have to, full disclosure, I was not able to witness it live, and that is because of COVID. But they had what was called a virtual reunion, and I don't know what it's like live, but I can tell you the virtual reunion was spectacular. I was able to witness the 4th, 6th, 15th, and 23rd degrees. And from what I saw virtually, it was amazing. The whole thing gave me chill bumps. It was so inspiring. Obviously, I can't go into a whole lot of detail, but what I can say is that what I love about it is the emphasis they put on believing in something that is bigger than yourself and putting yourself last and putting your brothers and other people first and helping people. And it is truly, truly amazing. And I am looking forward to witnessing the other degrees. Coming up in November, we're going to be able to witness the 14th and 32nd degree live in limited quantities, of course, with the COVID guidelines being upheld. And I'm really looking forward to that. So November 7th, I will be going to Cincinnati, the Valley of Cincinnati, and I'll be witnessing the 14th and 32nd degree. It's incredible. From what I've seen so far, it's amazing, and I'm really looking forward to it. And so as I go further in my Scottish Rite journey, I'll be able to talk to you guys, about what I can talk to you guys about without breaking my obligations. So but I mean, honestly, I can tell you, and this is no secret, the Scottish Rite, is amazing. And they actually have a Masonic charity that we're going to be talking about. That's actually personal for me because it's something that hits home for me. And so we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. But I can go on and on and on and on. And, I've been a Master Mason for 15 years. And I can say that apart from being raised in my Blue Lodge, this is a very close second to one of my favorite things, one of the most favorite things that I have experienced in Masonry. So I want to, I obviously want to thank the Valley of Cincinnati for having me. I also just want to emphasize that if you haven't done it, I highly recommend it. And, right now, I don't know what the 14th and the 32nd degrees consist of, but if it's anything that comes close to the other degrees that I've witnessed, I am going to be ecstatic. It just, to me, it was amazing. And it's just something that you have to experience for yourself. I'm rambling now, but I have to emphasize that. It's something, if you haven't experienced it, I highly recommend it. And you can go to Google and just type in the Scottish Rite, and they'll get you to the jurisdiction that you need to get to in order to join. And it's I highly recommend it. It's an amazing experience. So let's dive into some Masonic charities that are out there. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be able to get to them all because not only do you have jurisdictional charities, such as like what we're going to talk about here in a minute with the Grand Lodge of Ohio, you also have individual lodges that do charities. And I can speak to a little bit about what our lodge does. But first, what I want to talk about is a jurisdiction that I'm a part of, the Grand Lodge of Ohio, and this charity is commonly known as our greatest charity for the jurisdiction of Ohio, and that is the Ohio Masonic Home. The Ohio Masonic Home, it serves as a partner. And it helps people who are aging to age respectfully. And it gives seniors the option to remain independent while also enjoying an active lifestyle. It was founded about 125 years ago by the Grand Lodge of Ohio. It's from the Grand Lodge of Ohio, the York Rite, and the Scottish Rite. Today it operates as an independent corporation, and it has representatives from those Masonic organizations sitting on the board. The Ohio Masonic Lodge, or the Ohio Masonic Home, has different campuses. One's in Springfield, Ohio, Waterville, Ohio, and Mendina, Ohio. They offer the opportunity to maintain independence and a good independent lifestyle with trying to take some of the worry and anxiety out of aging. They have things like independent living, assisted living, rehabilitation and therapy, memory care. They have skilled nursing care, and it's something that, to me, my weakness are children and the elderly. And so when you're talking about the elderly that are also brothers or widows of brothers, and the lengths that the Ohio Masonic Home and the Ohio Masons go to make sure that our widows, that our aging brothers, widows, and things like that are taken care of. And that's something to me that I just absolutely love. In the early years, the Ohio Masonic Home was thought of just a place that if you didn't have money or your health wouldn't let you live independently, then you were put in the Ohio Masonic Home. But today it's a lot more than that. It's a community, and it's a community for well living and enjoying your senior years. Help is there if it's needed, but most residents live independently, and they live independent, productive lives. Along the same lines as the Ohio Masonic Home comes the Ohio Masonic Home Resource Center. If you talk to people, obviously moving into a retirement community is kind of one of those taboo subjects. Obviously you would want to stay in your own home if you could. And it's when you move into a retirement community, you're most times moving away from your family, away from your friends. They would rather stay in the comfort of their own home. And the Ohio Masonic Resource Center provides the assistance to members of the Masonic family and Ohioans. And they try to make it as seamless as possible. And they try to make the transition seem not so harsh. They do things like they target the financials, the financing of the problem. If there's a financial problem, obviously the social aspects of it, also the clinical needs, because we want to keep our seniors healthy. And so the Resource Center is staffed by knowledgeable people. They're trained in social work. They're trained in benefit services. They focus on helping those receive the care and resources that they need for the best location, whether it be at their home or one of the Ohio Masonic Home campuses elsewhere. The Ohio Masonic Resource Center, they're really good at answering questions about aging, general wellness. They assist in questions around, Medicare, Medicaid, other healthcare insurances. They're able to help obtain products or services that assist in independent living. They coordinate with local programs that offer meals or transportations, connect individuals with the best possible accommodations, including a nearby Ohio Masonic Home campus. They connect people to home health, from hospice to home health, home-based medical services. They provide connections to appropriate local agencies or caregiving resources. So the Masonic Resource Center of Ohio helps, if you have a question, so I don't know if, I want to stay in my home, here's my situation, then they're the ones to get a hold of. And you can call them. Their telephone number is 1-877-881-1623. That is 1-877-881-1623. They will help you with any questions. If you're from Ohio, and you have questions, I highly recommend you give them a call because they are there to help, and they are really, really good people. We're going to dive into the Ohio Masonic Home Foundation. The Ohio Masonic Home has been like I said, it's one of our greatest Masonic charities, and it's been that way for over 100 years. It has been able to carry out its mission thanks to the generosity of other Masons in Ohio. Today, the Ohio Masonic Home charges monthly fees to rent and live on campus, just like other many retirement communities across the United States. Many years ago, a resident had to surrender assets to live at the Ohio Masonic Home, but today, that's not the case. If a resident cannot afford to pay his way, the Ohio Masonic Home Foundation will step in to help him stay. And it remains to this day one of the greatest charities that the Grand Lodge of Ohio, the York Rite, and the Scottish Rite give aging Masons, our senior Masons. And, that is something to me that we, I'm only 37 years old. Hopefully I have a long way, I have many years to go before I need to even think about that. But knowing that it's there and knowing that it's been there for 125 years, I don't see it going anywhere in the future. If anything, I see it getting bigger and grander and being able to reach out and help more. Because let's face facts here, being a Freemason isn't just about standing up and being able to proclaim on the hilltops, I'm a Freemason, look at me, walk around with your shoulders squared back and flashing your ring everywhere. Being a Freemason means that, one, you need to look into your heart. You need to take in and actually examine yourself and say, how can I become better? And two, it is about reaching the community. Yes, we want to help our Masonic brethren, as brethren, as your family. We're brothers. We're brothers in this ancient fraternity, and we want to help each other. We want to be there for one another, and we want to lift each other up and not tear each other down. And when our brethren become seniors and they get to the point where they need help, it is great to know that there is a place that is dedicated to help them, and not only them, but their widows as well. It's all encompassing. And the Resource Center doesn't just help seniors. Call the Resource Center. I hope I'm telling this story correctly. One of our longtime brethren in our lodge, he has a lot of information about the Ohio Masonic Resource Center. He was talking about one of the widows who was having a really hard time. And one of the brothers was able to get in touch with the Resource Center, and the Resource Center helped buy groceries, helped pay rent until she could get on her feet. And that is incredible to me. It's the lodge may not be able to help. There is there's what we call large lodges, medium lodges, small lodges. If you're part of a small or medium lodge, we may not be able to help, but that doesn't mean that we have to help financially. That means we can reach out to somebody that can help. Sometimes it's all it is making a phone call, and it can change the lives of so many people. And that's what it's all about. It's about helping people. It's about really looking at the situation and saying, you know what? I cannot help this person myself. My lodge cannot help this person. Who can? So, what we'll do? We'll call the Resource Center, see what they have to say. Because if there is any way at all that can be helped, the Resource Center will be able to find it. And I'm going to say that telephone number one more time. 1-877-881-1623. So if you are from Ohio, I highly recommend that you keep that number on you in case you run across a brother or a widow or even an orphan that needs help, because they right there, that is an incredible opportunity to help. So now we're going to jump over to another charity, and this is the one that really hits home with me, and that is the Children's Dyslexia Centers. And this is a charity of the Scottish Rite Freemasonry. The reason it hits home for me is because I am dyslexic, and this is something that I honestly didn't know about until recently, about the Children's Dyslexia Centers. And it's something that I wish I would have known about, because from personal experience growing up, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and I had dyslexia. We didn't really understand it, and even the teachers didn't understand it. And so it got to the point where I didn't even want to try in school. I didn't even want to try because, words just read so much different to me. And I fell behind so bad. I mean, I even had teachers that called me lazy, literally, to my face. I remember a third grade teacher. He looked right at me, right in the eye, and told me that I was lazy. And, he may not have understood it because I didn't understand it, but you don't tell a kid that, especially when you're one of his teachers. Now that's not the case with all teachers. I also had a teacher who, she would sit down and she would help me, and she would, this was after I was diagnosed. And so she would sit down and help me, and she would accommodate my needs. And because of her, I was able to not only pass my grades, but graduate. And through the years, I've been able to work around it. I've been able to try to, I understand it now. So I've done some things that can help me, to get through adulthood. And so living with dyslexia is hard, and having the Children's Dyslexia Centers that the Scottish Rite have helped with, to me, this is incredible. Because, you think of other charities, the Shriners Hospital, which we'll get to in a little bit. They help children that are sick or burned, or, things like that. Oftentimes situations like dyslexia, it's not a life or death situation. But when you're talking about kids who feel like they're inadequate because they don't understand why they're falling behind when their other classmates are doing so well, and the Children's Dyslexia Centers are there to help provide intense reading instruction. And they help children from the first grade all the way up to the 12th grade. And to me, I wish I would have known about this, and I wish I could have been able to take advantage of it. So, right now, before we even dive into it, if you know of anyone that is suffering with dyslexia, I highly recommend that you listen to this, and you're able to get a hold of one of these centers, or at least tell those child's parents about this, because this could be a life changer in the lives of some of these kids. So first, let's try to understand what dyslexia is. Dyslexia is a neurological learning disability, and it makes it very difficult for children and even adults to read, write, and spell. My spelling is atrocious, and it's because that although I know that a word is spelled a certain way, my mind almost tricks my hand into writing it incorrectly. And so as far as spelling goes, and reading for me is horrible. If I try to sit down and read a book, it's like, it drives me nuts sometimes. But it affects up to 1 out of every 5 people, and it affects males and females equally. Children that are left untreated with dyslexia often suffer devastating personal consequences and are more likely than their non-dyslexic peers to drop out of school. And research shows that children with untreated dyslexia can become underachieving adults who are unable to contribute to society to their fullest potential. So is dyslexia treatable? Without proper intervention, dyslexia can lead to literacy, academic, social, and self-esteem difficulties. And while it is a treatable condition, millions suffer because they go without help due to either lack of finances or access to services. And that is where the Children's Dyslexia Centers can help. The Children's Dyslexia Centers are equipping students with skills and confidence they need to approach learning with eagerness and without fear. They are proven therapeutic techniques, and they have a documented success rate, generally resulting in significant gain in reading level. In 1994, the Scottish Rite Freemasons of the Northern Masonic jurisdiction partnered with the Massachusetts General Hospital's Language Disorders Unit to launch a major endeavor to help ease the lifelong challenges that are faced by children with dyslexia. And until this program was launched, there was no other national charity that had adopted this critical need as a major concern. Scottish Rite Freemasons made the following pledges. They pledged to help children with dyslexia learn to read and to reach their full potential. They pledged to help their families and end the frustration, guilt, and disruption caused by dyslexia. And they pledged to help communities by developing children's dyslexia centers to help children succeed in and out of school. Today, the program is nationally recognized for its efforts to help children and their families overcome the painful obstacles of dyslexia. Our more than 40 dyslexia centers in 13 states provide intervention at reduced or no cost to children from early elementary school through high school who have a profile suggesting dyslexia. Children are eligible regardless of economic status. The positive impact of early intervention on the lives of these children and their families is enormous and inspires our commitment to this program. One thing, I was reading this about the dyslexia centers, but one thing personally is if you can get them early, the earlier the better, then they have such a better chance of being able to live what I would call a normal school life. That doesn't mean if a child has dyslexia that they're stupid. It's a neurological disorder. It doesn't mean that they're lazy. It doesn't mean that they don't care. It just means that when you're suffering from something like this and you don't understand it, your parents don't understand it, your teachers don't understand it, and then all of a sudden you're like, you know what? I give up. I can't do this. It is a real issue, and it's something that the Scottish Rite have since 1994 been pledging to help children with. It's not curable, but it's treatable. The Children's Dyslexia Centers is a charity of the Scottish Rite Northern Masonic jurisdiction of Freemasonry. Scottish Rite Freemasonry is an organization of men dedicated to improving themselves and their communities, as all Masons, all appendant bodies of Masonry should be. And so the success of the dyslexia centers is due to the dedication and involvement of volunteers, board members, financial supporters, as well as professional staff, trainees, and tutors, which include both Masonic and non-Masonic sponsors. We love what we do. We're always looking for people to get involved with our program. We have many opportunities for you to help make a difference in the lives of the children we serve. So that is pretty much, in a nutshell, the Dyslexia Centers. And I'm going to, you can go to the internet, childrensdyslexiacenters.org, childrensdyslexiacenters.org, or you can also call toll free 1-877-861-0528, 877-861-0528. If you or someone you know could benefit from this, please give them a call or go online, because, I can't answer all the questions, but I can give you the information to where you can call and actually get the information for yourself. So that number again is 877-861-0528. Before we dive into our next charity, I want to play you a song that was written and performed by a good friend of mine, Brother Howie Dameron. He is the one that actually sings the Masonic Ring at the beginning of this podcast. He wrote this song dedicated to those who are suffering from dyslexia. And I thought now would be as good a time as any to be able to play this for you. And this right here is one of my favorite songs ever. And I'm hoping that you will enjoy it too. So here is Brother Howie Dameron.
Well, I always knew since my days back in school I was different from all of the rest. I'd barely get by, no matter how hard I'd try. God knows how I gave it my best. But the words that I'd see read much different to me, and I struggled through each passing day. But it helped me to see that my best friend was me, for I'm dyslexic and I found a way. I now dream of a brighter tomorrow, and I'll never be less than my dreams. No more time for the sadness and sorrow, for I'm building my own self-esteem. I will cherish this life with compassion and reach others who feel they're alone. And I'll shine the bright light for the old Scottish rite, and thank them for the gift they have shown. Now many like me still go unseen, trying every day to fit in. But with the trained eyes, it's being recognized. The little minds are being healed again. I now dream of a brighter tomorrow, and I'll never be less than my dreams. No more time for the sadness and sorrow, for I'm building my own self-esteem. Well, I will cherish this life with compassion and reach others who feel they're alone. And I'll shine the bright light for the old Scottish rite, and thank them for the gift they have shown. And I'll shine the bright light for the old Scottish rite, and thank them for the gift they have shown.
I could listen to that over and over and over again. I just love it. And you can tell that Brother Howie sings it with such compassion. It's just, I love that song. So now we're going to move into a Masonic charity that almost everyone has heard of, and that is the Shriners Hospital for Children. This is one that to me is, like I said, children and the elderly are my weakness. And I think that, this right here is one of my favorites. The Shriners Hospital for Children specialize in pediatric care, and their patients are at the heart of everything that they do. They inspire them to continue the mission of improving the lives of children and families. They specialize in orthopedics, burn care, spinal cord injury, craniofacial and cleft lip palate surgeries, and sports injury and fractures. And the pediatric care teams are led by some of the most innovative doctors in the world. They provide advanced care and procedures for orthopedic and neuromuscular skeletal conditions, and injuries, burns, spinal cord injuries, cleft lip and palate, and other complex healthcare needs. And it doesn't stop there. The compassionate wraparound care that envelops the children at this hospital in such a supportive and loving environment is what helps them thrive. They've treated over 1.4 million children. They've invested $38 million and counting in research. And just in 2019, they have cared for 145,608 children just in 2019. The 1.4 million treated has been since 1922. They have locations all over the country. They have Tampa, Florida, Boston, Massachusetts, Chicago, Illinois, Cincinnati, Ohio. It's an amazing thing. They're in Erie, Pennsylvania. They're in Galveston, Texas. They're all over the place. Honolulu, Hawaii, Houston, Lexington, Mexico City, Montreal, Quebec, Pasadena, California, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Portland, Oregon, Sacramento, California. They're all over the place. From just a personal standpoint, I've thankfully never had to have any kind of treatment from them growing up. And I've also never, my children have never had to have any treatment, thank goodness. But, if something were to come up, they would be one of my first calls because they do so much great work and service for these children. It's incredible. And one of our brothers in our lodge is a Shriner, and he, before COVID, he would take, just little stuffed animals up and visit the children at the Shriners Hospital in Cincinnati. And to me, that I would love to be able to do something like that. And so, one of these days I might join the Shriners, but even if I don't, I'm still able to go up there and help because they don't, it's not limited to children of Masons. It is children, period. And so that's just one of those, to me, this is one of the greatest charities in the world that has been or ever will be, because it helps these children with so many different afflictions. So if you would like more information on the Shriners Hospitals for Children, you can call 1-800-237-5055, 1-800-237-5055, or visit shrinershospitalsforchildren.org. And I want to make note that none of the places that I have mentioned today are sponsors at all, period. I wouldn't even accept any kind of sponsorship from them anyway, because I think just getting the word out is important. And so, not a sponsor, just me wanting to get the word out. So I suggest going online and reading about it for yourself, the Shriners Hospital for Children.org. Now this is going to be our last one, some of the Masonic charities that we do in our local lodges. Those are pretty big national charities that I mentioned. This one here is going to be what we do in our local lodges. I can't speak for every local lodge, but I know that there are so many different charities out there. So one that I definitely want to talk about is the scholarship. Most of the lodges that I have had interaction with, they do scholarships for local high school seniors that are wanting to get further in education. And sometimes it's not much. Sometimes, each child might only get $500. Sometimes they get $2,000 or more. It really isn't so much about the amount to me. To me, it's more about helping them in any small way that we can, giving back to the community. And so, scholarships to me, they're a big one. I really love being a part. Our lodge does that. We help with scholarships, and I know that other lodges around our district and in the state do that as well. So that is a very, very good charity, just in my opinion. I know that we have donated as well to, little leagues, to help little league, little leagues and t-ball and different places like that. That helps out a lot more, especially in this area, because this area is an impoverished area anyway. But helping out with little leagues. I know we also donated to an organization that helps take young kids who are suffering from disabilities, who are wheelchair bound, or any other kind of disability, whether it be physical or developmental. And they take them out and they teach them how to fish, and they teach them how to hunt. And they're, obviously they are supervised, but have you ever seen a child that is suffering from a disability who's normally not able to get out and do this kind of stuff? Have you ever seen their faces when they catch even the smallest bluegill or smallest fish? It lights them up. They are the happiest that they've ever been because they caught a fish, and it's amazing. Stuff like that is amazing. There's so many different charities out there that we as Freemasons are a part of. And I would love to hear some of the ones that I may not have mentioned. If what is your lodge a part of? What does your lodge do to help others in the community? It's important, I think, to make sure that it gets out there, because if we're not talking about it, how do people know where to come if they need help? And so you can email them to me, theMasonicRing@gmail.com, or post them on Facebook. What are some of your Masonic charities? I'll put a thing on the Facebook thing, and you can comment underneath of it. What does your lodge do to help with serving the community? As part of, it could be donating money. It could be volunteering. It doesn't always have to be money. And it doesn't always have to be this huge, grand gesture. Sometimes when you donate your time or you donate your money, it most times goes unnoticed. And that is fine. This isn't about making ourselves, walking around saying, well, I donated to this charity, or I donated to this, or I volunteered for this. No, it's about coming together and helping the community, helping people. That's what it's all about. So what is some of the stuff that you do? Let's talk about it. Let's celebrate our Masonic achievements, because there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with getting the word out. It's not about bragging about it. It's about getting the word out and saying, listen, are you in need? If you're in need, I almost guarantee there is a Masonic charity somewhere that can help you. And a Freemason should be able to point you in the right direction. So, what are some of your Masonic achievements? Let's talk about them. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And remember to connect with us on Facebook. You can also email us at themasonicring@gmail.com. And don't forget, let's talk about our Masonic achievements. Let's let the world know that we're there to help. So until next week, my name has been Nathan Davis. I've been your host, and always remember to keep it on the level.
I'm a master mason and I shine the light with pride. I will teach of all our values with the great Creator's guide. I present my craft with honors to a world who is in need. I'm a master mason and I want the world to see